This call is now being recorded.
All right, so now let's get started. Now that we are getting into learning a new technology, so let's have some background for this MS.NET. What is this MS.NET? Why is it so popular? And why there are so many companies who are, willing to work on .NET, or why they want to build project in .NET? Any idea? Any idea about .NET? What is .NET? What are the key features of .NET? Anything like that? Do you know? Anything. Have you heard about .NET? इतना तो पता होगा, नाम तो सुना होगा, like Shahrukh Khan usually says. So have you heard about .NET, right? Yes, you have heard. Anything more than just the name? नाम के अलावा, have you heard anything else about .NET? It's a package from Microsoft which includes 30 plus languages. Great. So let me just note it down. So I will just write here MS.NET provides support for various languages. Let me write it like this: various languages, because today it is 30, tomorrow it may even span more, right? So let's have it like this: generic. Okay, mostly used languages, correct. So multiple languages it is providing, that support is being provided. Used for developing application, yeah, that is fine, means it will be used for developing application. Anything else? Any other point anybody knows? So let me add it like it is platform independent. That is another strong point about .NET. It provides language interoperability. It's having a huge library, like we have studied with Python as well as Java. They have huge library. So similarly, .NET also has a huge library. So when there is a library available, our task gets done in a less amount of time. So we don't have to spare everything. We don't have to build from the scratch. We have the libraries. We use the library and build the application, right? So, and it is completely OOP, means object oriented language. So let me just compare this point. If you see from Java perspective, in Java is also 100% object oriented, but there are some built-in data types also available. So they are not, what do you call that, primitive data types are there. So they are not 100% object oriented. We have to use the wrapper classes for them. In Python also, we break the rule of encapsulation. We don't have to compulsorily write everything inside a class. We can write something outside the class. So that is also not 100% object oriented. But MS.NET is 100% object oriented. Okay, so that is one important point to be noted. Besides this, of course, there are so many other things. Okay, of course, there are so many other points that are important, but we will eventually explore them, right? So there are some other key features that we will be understanding. That is something called as MSIL code. I will explain. Don't worry, Manoj. I will explain all the points in detail. Don't worry. So MSIL code, CLR. So these are again the two terminologies that we need to know when we are learning .NET. So let's get started. So first, I will focus on the point that is platform independent. So when we talk about the language, if you want to speak, please raise your hand because I'm removing the speakers. Okay, I'll be just using the mic. If at all you want to speak, please raise your hand. Okay, so first we need to understand what is platform independence. To understand what is platform independent, first we will try and understand what is platform dependent language. Okay, so प्लेटफॉर्म डिपेंडेंट क्या होता है? Let's first understand this. Suppose I build an application. on one machine. So let's say this is one machine M1, and I'm building my application on this machine M1. Let's take the example of C or C++. Those are machine dependent languages, right? Machine dependent usko क्यों बोलते हैं? Why we call them machine independent? Let's understand. So there is one machine. So when we say machine, when I say machine, what is a machine? So machine does not necessarily mean the hardware part. Hardware component. So it is not just the hardware component. Besides the hardware component, what important role we have to understand is the operating system. So these two things together contribute the machine. Understood everyone? When I talk about a machine, मतलब आपने कोई एक program लिया है, you are executing that program on a specific machine. That machine consists of the hardware as well as operating system. So together they create the platform for us. Yes, we call them as platform, or we call them as. So that is the base on which our application is going to run. दोनों important है, सिर्फ hardware नहीं लेना है, सिर्फ OS नहीं लेना है, both are important. So let us say this is our machine. Now, whichever machine you consider, maybe it is the latest processor machine or it is an older processing machine. Every machine will process a limited set of instructions. Do you agree? For example, I have a machine, right? मेरे पास जो machine है, can it execute infinite instructions or it will execute finite number of instructions? Any machine. The number of instructions it can execute, it will be finite or infinite? You understood my question, everyone? अगर कोई मेरे पास सिस्टम है, उसमें मैं जो काम कर सकती हूँ, whatever work we are going to do, is it limited or is it unlimited? कुछ भी करने को बोलेंगे हम कंप्यूटर को तो वो करेगा क्या? No, right? So there is a limit to which the work or the task that the computer system can perform, right? So every machine can perform a limited, so there is a limit to the number of instruction executed. So let's take an example. In our case, let's say this machine executes I1, I2, I3 up to, let's say, I100. Let's say I have a machine which is going to understand I1 to I100. These are the set of instructions which this machine M1 understands. Okay. Now what I do, I have a source code. So this is my source code. Okay. So I wrote some set of instructions over here. Okay, so this is my source code. I take this source code and I give it to this machine and I try to execute this on my machine. मतलब for example, अगर मैंने C या C++ में program लिखा है, I have installed the C++ compiler on this machine and I try to compile this C++ program on this machine. Now this machine, as I said, has got a limited set of instructions. So what the C++ compiler will do, it will convert my source code into object code. That will be the binary code. Okay, so what output I get is the object code, which is the binary part. So when I say that this course source code has been compiled on this machine M1, so the result will be some instructions of this set. So let's say the output I got is I1, I2, I3, maybe I50, I70, I78, I91. Let's say these are the instructions which are generated out of this source code. Everybody is understanding this overall process? We took a source program, okay, which might be in C or C++. It might be a C code or it might be in C++. We took this source code, we compiled it on this machine that is M1, which is having I1 to I100 instructions. After compilation, I got some output, the compiled output. What is that output? It comprises of some instructions, I1, I2, I3, I50, I70, 78, 91, I'm saying. Can it produce an instruction? Is it possible that it will produce an instruction, say I105? Can it produce this instruction? No, because that is not a part of my instruction set. So that is not possible here. So this is out of question. This is not possible. Okay, so this is what I got. Now what I do, I take this. Now there is another machine. Let's consider that I have another machine. So this is my machine M2. Now the machine is different, so its instruction set will obviously be different. So let's say this is I1, I2, I3 up to maybe I50, J1, J2, J3 up to say J50. Like this, we have a different machine with a different set of instructions. Now what I do, I take this machine, I take this source, this code, the object code that I have, and it is having I1, I2, I3, I50, I70, I78, and I90. I took these instructions and I try to execute this on my machine M2. So if you closely observe, I1, no problem, I2, I3, I15, no problem. But the moment I try to execute I7, I78 and I90, can I say these instructions will not be able to execute on this machine? Because this machine does not understand those instruction sets because the platform has changed. This is known as platform dependency. प्लेटफॉर्म बात कर रहे हैं ना हम लोग सो प्लेटफॉर्म हैज चेंज्ड सो माय सोर्स कोड व्हिच वाज कंपाइल्ड ऑन वन मशीन may not execute on the other machine. That is the meaning of platform dependency. If you have understood this point, can you please type C for clear, everyone? Okay, so as a now start thinking as a developer. You are a developer, you develop a software and you give it to the client and you are saying, I'm sorry sir, there is no guarantee that this software will run on your machine or not. भगवान का नाम लेके रन करो, रन हो गया तो अच्छा है, नहीं तो सॉरी. Is it good? No, right? So we don't want to build such an application, right? So let's try and explore what can be the solutions. So one solution is, see, the problem happened. Why the problem happened? Because we took the source code and we compiled it on machine M1. And so I got the object code which is dependent on machine M1. That is the problem. So the easiest option that I have is, why not give the source code? Why not take the source code to the machine M2, compile it on the machine M2? Then the output that I will get will be definitely running on this machine, correct? Whatever source code we have, let's give it to the client, right? And we say, okay, client, you run it on your machine, it will execute. So we got the solution that now we are saying, yes, it will run on your machine. Now see, if I want to run this, now suppose this is a C++ program. If you want to compile this on this machine, you need the compiler of C++ installed on this machine. Agreed? If I want this source code to be compiled on this machine, what needs to be done? We have to install the compiler on this machine. So when I am giving the software to the client, I am saying, sir, please install this software also. We need the compiler also. So compiler also has to be installed on this machine. And then we go ahead and compile it on the other machine. Then we need to give the training also to the client how to compile the software. Please press Ctrl F5 to execute this. So it will be done. Like that we teach. So let's say still fine. We are okay with the solution. Since we gave the source code to the client, what will happen? The client might open the source code in some editor. He can open the source code. He can see the source code. If he can see the source code, he can also manipulate the source code. He can change, he can remove some of the semicolons. And then when he tries to execute, it will show error. Then what he will do? Customer care. He will call up, right? Your software is not running, sir. Please help. So what you will do? You will say, okay, let me teach you .NET so that you can remove your errors, because this is something which can happen every day. So that is some problem we will again be facing, correct? That is not a very good option. And another thing, when we are working with some software, right? So software is something like our copyright. So we don't want to generally give the software away to the client, right? Until unless some, MOU is signed and all those things, we generally don't prefer to give the source code to the client. We give the executables to the client. So because that is a kind of, what do you say, copyright issue. So we are having the solution, but that is not a very good solution. I hope you all would agree with that. Clear hai? So now let's try and explore what can be the better option for this. We need the solution, but obviously this is not a very good solution. So let's go ahead and explore the better option. Now what we will do is, we will take the source code. Okay, so this is our source code. We will take the source code and we will perform the compilation. So let's do the compilation. But after compilation, we do not expect the machine code or the binary code. Rather, we will expect something which is similar to, we can say, an assembly language code. So this is something similar to an assembly language code. Okay, so what we are going to do is, we take the source code. The source code is being compiled, but this is not, please understand that when you do the compilation, you are not generating the binary. Okay, it is not the direct executable. What is being generated is something called as something similar to assembly language code. Okay. So can I say it is like a partial compilation? You please understand this as a partial compilation, not 100%. Partially we have compiled the code. So the source code we take, we compile it, and we generate something which is an assembly language code. And this code in .NET is termed as MSIL code. So what is MS? Microsoft Intermediate Language Code. Okay, MSIL stands for Microsoft Intermediate Language Code. That is the name given to this code which is being generated over here. Now, since it is not binary, it is not directly dependent on the machine. We have now, then you might ask why we are even doing this process. See, compilation is necessary. Why it is necessary? If you have built a software, okay, if you do not compile and you directly give the code to the client, don't you think there is a possibility of some errors in the code? पॉसिबल है? आपने एक सोर्स कोड लिखा है और आप ऐसे ही उठा के अगर क्लाइंट को दे दो, सो कैन आई से देयर माइट बी सम एरर इन द कोड. So we want to make sure that my code is completely free from error. That is why compilation is necessary. I hope you all know what is the meaning of compiler. Everybody is aware with what is compiler. Compiler will take the entire source code and it will compile it and generate the, mostly it generates the binary, but here the compiler is not going to generate the binary, rather it generates assembly language code. So this was our high level language code. This was our high level language code, which has been compiled and generating something which is assembly language code. So now, as I said, it is not binary. First thing, it is not binary, but it is not as complex as source code also. So we also say this is a low level language code. So this is not binary. It is not binary. So it is similar to, or we say it is a low level language code. Low level means low level language code. Something which is low level. Low level means what? It is very close to the machine. देखो इसको ऐसे समझो आप कि ये मेरा हाई लेवल लैंग्वेज है. हाई लेवल को अगर मुझे बाइनरी में कन्वर्ट करना है, so let's say the amount of time and effort required is maybe 100. Let's assume some arbitrary value I am taking कि अगर मेरे पास high level language है, I compile it and I generate the binary, it is taking how much resources? 100. But if I have low level language code and I try to convert this in binary, already थोड़ा काम यहाँ हो चुका है ना, so this will be something like 20 or 30 only. So effort required to convert this low level into binary is very less as compared to converting the high level into binary. Did you all understand this point, everybody? That is why this first stage compilation is also important. So we have this source code, we compile it, and all the high level parameters are now removed, and my code is very, very ready to run. Means बहुत जल्दी वो कर सकता है. Okay? So the time and resource required will be very less when we come to this level. ठीक है? Got it, everyone? So this is the MSIL code. Now we take this MSIL code. So now this was, we call this as phase 1. This is called as phase 1. Now let's go ahead with the next one, that is phase 2. So what we are going to do now, I take this MSIL code. That is my input now. Instead of source code, now we are taking MSIL code. Now this MSIL code needs to be converted into binary. So here I need something, something is needed. So let me call this as some language translator is needed. So we have this MSIL code. Okay, we use some translator. कुछ तो चाहिए ना machine में convert करने के लिए. So I need another translator over here that would convert this MSIL code into binary. So this MSIL code needs to be converted into binary. This process we are going to perform. So now what we get is the binary or the executable, we can say. Okay, so we got the binary or the executable, but the phase, now where this phase 1 will be performed, this entire phase 1 will be done on the developer side. We perform this on the developer's end, and this phase 2 we are going to perform on the client side, client's machine. Okay, so we will be doing the phase 2 on the client's machine. So what is phase 1? We take the source code, we compile the source code, and we generate something which is called as MSIL code, which is similar to assembly language code. It is not binary, but it is a low level language code. So most of the conversion has already happened. So now we take this MSIL code, we perform the language translation again to get the binary, but this process is being done on the client's machine. So the output that is being generated, this output which is being generated, it is happening on the client's machine. ये जो binary generate हुआ ये कहाँ हुआ? Client machine में. So can I say there is a guarantee that this will run on the client's machine? Understood? So if you have understood the overall two-stage compilation process, can you please type U for understood? This overall process, if you have understood? Okay, great. So when we say that we have performed the first stage compilation on the developer side, as a developer, when I am a developer and I am building a software, can I write my source code on the notepad? The answer is yes. But then how much time and effort it will be needing? So it will be too much, right? So what we have to do, we need some good software into which I can type, some intelligence should be there, so we easily build the code. So on the developer side I need the full fledged software. ठीक है, डेवलपर को क्या चाहिए, पूरा फुल सॉफ्टवेयर चाहिए. So as a developer we will be using Visual Studio 2022 for developing the application. When the source code is compiled and everything, when your MSIL code is generated, when you give it to the client, so client does not need Visual Studio 2022. Understood? Because it is already compiled code, right? So and we don't have to build and everything again. So on the client's machine, what is needed is just the .NET framework. Now, what is this .NET framework? I'll come to that point. But please understand, it is very much smaller. Very good. Who is the translator? I'm just coming to that point, Shreyas. Please give me 2 minutes. First, this point is clear, everybody, that as a developer, we need complete full-fledged full-fledged environment to develop the application. So we are using Visual Studio 2022 as a developer. When you give it to the client, you don't need the complete software. You just need something to do the second stage compilation that can be performed by the .NET framework. Okay, some minimum software is needed to perform this translation. I hope everybody okay till this point. Okay. Now, so we tried to cover up the first point, one of the points I should say, that is platform independent. Now I am moving ahead to the next point, that is language interoperability. How does .NET support language interoperability? Let's say I am very much comfortable with C#. Okay, so I start working on C# and I build my application using C#. So my entire source code is written in C#. But Shruti is more comfortable in VB.NET. So she says, no, madam, I don't want to learn C#. I will go ahead and work on VB.NET. So fine, let her work on VB.NET. So she will build her code in VB.NET. Then there may be some other developer who is working with something other than this, maybe J#. So he is developing the application using J#. As I told you that whatever be the source code, you have to perform the first stage compilation, correct? कोई भी आप language select करो. You said 30 languages, right? So 30 compilers will also be there. So for C#, we will have a compiler that will compile this C# code. There will be a compiler for VB.NET, J#. So CSC is the compiler for C#. That is CSC stands for C# compiler. VSC is the compiler. इसका शायद से JSC है. Okay, so these are the different compilers. So my source code will be provided to these compilers. The most interesting thing is when you use these compilers, the output that you get is MSIL code. The output that you are going to get is the MSIL code. मतलब आप कोई भी language use करो, वो generate क्या करने वाला है? MSIL code. Means once you perform this first stage compilation, मान लीजिए आपने C# का कोड लिखा, okay, you got MSIL code. आपने VB.NET का कोड लिखा, वो भी MSIL कोड देगा. J# का कोड लिखा, वो भी MSIL कोड लिखेगा. अब आप इसको ओपन करके देखो. There will be no difference between C sharp, VB.NET, J sharp. So जो लैंग्वेज वाला पार्ट है वो इसके बाद यहाँ पे खत्म हो जाता है. I'm repeating, please listen to me carefully. Whichever language you are comfortable, you continue with that. That is most interesting point, right? मतलब मुझे मान लीजिए C sharp पसंद है तो मैं C sharp ही यूज करूंगी. मेरे टीम वाले बोल रहे हैं नहीं, they want to use VB.NET. I'm not comfortable with VB.NET. I personally don't like VB.NET. So please don't ask me to switch to VB.NET. I will continue my application in C sharp only. So the interesting thing is it is allowed. In one application, you might be using multiple programming languages. Don't you think this is interesting? जो आपका कंफर्ट जोन है आप उसमें ही रहो, बदलने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, तुमको बदलने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, so you continue to use the language as per your choice. When you compile it, when you perform the first stage compilation, after the first stage compilation, what we get is the MSIL code. That MSIL code is independent of the programming languages that you have selected. That is how it has been designed. So once you reach to this level, the language dependency part is vanished. मतलब अब आप नहीं बता सकते कि ये C sharp का था या VB.NET का था या J sharp का था. Till here, if you have understood, again, can you type U for understood? And if you have any query, you can ask. I hope you all are finding it interesting. कुछ नया, कुछ मजा आ रहा है, समझ में आ रहा है? It's interesting, right? Okay, now as I said, this MSIL code, this is first stage compilation done. So we take this MSIL code to the client's machine. And as I said, this MSIL code will be further compiled. This MSIL code will now be compiled. Somebody was asking about Java. In Java, ये जो अपना पहला हुआ ना, first stage, here also we are using compiler, or in the second stage also we are using compiler. But in Java में यहाँ पर interpreter use होता है, ठीक है? So that is one difference you might know. Java uses interpreter in the second stage, but C sharp uses compiler for the second stage as well. So here we are going to use a compiler. That compiler will generate now the binary. So now the question is, what is the name of this compiler? The name of this compiler is, यहाँ पे मैंने शायद से लिखा था CLR. Okay, so let me just have it like this. I hope you all know that whenever we are running the application, see, thoda sa computer ka basics, whenever we are developing any software, when we save it, it is on the hard disk. When we start running the application from the hard disk, it is loaded onto the RAM. So this square I have drawn, that is for the RAM. Okay, RAM में ये अपना software है. Now this RAM is completely under the control of the operating system. Operating system is becoming the manager over here. ये जो RAM है यहाँ पर OS govern करता है, rule करता है. So when we are running the different application, my application is under the control of the operating system. So this entire boundary line you can see, it is for the operating system. Within this boundary, my .NET application is going to run. So this is my MS.NET application. Okay, ये अपना .NET का application है. This is my MS.NET application, which might have been developed in C Sharp or VB.NET, whatever. किसी में भी बना होगा, पर हम यहाँ पे उसको रन कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. अब सवाल ये उठता है that, as we said, that we need the second stage compiler. So somebody will do that conversion. So what I told you, we require the CLR. So what is this CLR? उसका पूरा नाम देखो क्या है. It is also interesting. Common Language Run Time. The name of the CLR is Common Language Runtime. इसी से तुमको समझ में आ रहा है? It is common for all languages. For every language, same runtime environment. इसी को जावा में JVM कहा जाता है. Same thing. There is no difference. Both are playing the same role. The name is different. Okay. So in Java we say it is JVM, but here it is CLR, that is Common Language Runtime. तो हमारा जो .NET हाँ, अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है नॉर्मली दैट whenever an application is running, this is my application which is running. When it is running, it might need some set of resources. It might need memory, it might need some files, whatever. कुछ तो उसको जरूरत होगी जब वो एप्लीकेशन रन करेगा तो. Normally what happens in C and C++, whatever resource you want, अगर एक मिनट मैं एक डायग्राम और बनाती हूँ. This is again our OS and this is suppose C++ application. Now it is a running application, right? So if it needs anything, it will request to the operating system directly. C++ आपको पता है ना, उसको system level language भी बोलते हैं. It directly talks to the operating system. There is no intermediate layer between them. So what is the problem in this case? ये अच्छी बात है, बहुत अच्छी बात है. That is why C++ is very powerful language even today. कि वो सीधा सीधा OS से आप उससे बात कर सकते हो. Means you can write very low level programs using C++. That is really good actually. But the other problem is the operating system. Suppose I make a request for some memory and the operating system says no, there is not enough memory, or I try to read a block which is not provided to me. So what OS will simply do, it will terminate the application in case of any small flaw. छोटा सा भी तुमसे गलती हो गया ना तो ओएस क्या करेगा, सीधा उस एप्लीकेशन को टर्मिनेट कर देगा. ओएस बोलेगा ये मेरा काम नहीं है, ये तुम खुद देखो ना, तुम्हारे एप्लीकेशन का प्रॉब्लम है ये, सो यू हैंडल इट, यू डोंट कम टू मी. अंडरस्टूड एवरीबडी? Whatever C++ application we are building, we are going to interact with the operating system. That is a good point. But the minus point is OS is saying, nee, if you write the program perfectly, it is fine. But if you make some mistake, then sorry, I won't be able to help you. मैं सीधे क्या करूँगा, तुम्हारे application को terminate कर दूँगा. But then that is a problem, right? When we are building an application, we don't want that it should terminate or it should crash so easily. So that is why when we are working with this .NET application, so 1 minute, ये जो है part, ये इधर आएगा. So our .NET application will be inside an environment. ये अपना .NET का application, ये जो boundary आपको दिख रहा है, it is running inside another environment that is called as CLR. You may just understand this, that this is OS for .NET application. ये क्या है, ये हमारे .NET एप्लीकेशन के लिए एक क्या बोलना चाहिए, एनवायरनमेंट है. सो द पॉइंट हियर इज, अगर कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुआ तो हम किससे बात करेंगे, CLR से. मुझे मेमोरी चाहिए, CLR प्लीज गिव मी मेमोरी, सो CLR विल गिव यू मेमोरी. कुछ भी सपोर्ट चाहिए तुम CLR से बात करो. सो इन दिस वे वी आर नॉट डायरेक्टली टॉकिंग टू द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. करेक्ट? घड़ी घड़ी OS के पास जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. So if we are not talking to the OS, can I say my application is more secured now? The possibility of the application getting crashed is less now. Okay, so we have an application, but we are having it in a more controlled environment rather than interacting with the OS. Okay, so what this CLR is going to do, as we said, it is going to perform the second stage compilation. That is one thing. पर कंपाइल करके काम खत्म हो गया क्या? नहीं. It is still going to be there and provide support to the application which is there. So my .NET application will be running in a controlled environment by the CLR. CLR will always monitor this application. Whatever you need, I will provide you. That is the role of the CLR. And the name itself is common language. So it is going to support runtime. Runtime मतलब run करते वक्त Whatever you need, I will provide you the support. That is the role of the CLR. Got it, everyone? And one more thing, when we are running the application, we might be using database connectivity, we might be using multi-threading and so on. बहुत सारी चीजें हम use कर सकते हैं. So I will require those supports as well. वो सब सपोर्ट भी लगेगा ना जब एप्लीकेशन रन होगा कि मुझे डेटाबेस से कनेक्ट करना है तो कुछ उसके लाइब्रेरीज चाहिए. इफ आई एम यूजिंग मल्टी थ्रेडिंग आई नीड दोज लाइब्रेरीज एज वेल. सो we need a bunch of classes that is called as FCL, that is framework class library. Everybody okay with this part? So that is also a part of CLR. So when the CLR is deployed, it gets deployed with the framework class library as well. That will provide support to the running environment. It consists those classes that will support the running application. So everybody understood these points? So let me just revisit those features again that we discussed initially. So we said MS.NET provides support for various languages. It is platform independent. It provides language interoperability. It has huge library and completely object oriented. So anyways, we are going to cover this point, but I hope you all understood the main features of .NET. यहाँ तक सबको clear है? Okay, so now that we have done some of the theory part, so now let's go ahead and get into coding part so that we just start, getting friendly with the environment. So when I start off with the coding, there will be some features which you may not understand, which is fine. अभी उसको side में रखना है अपने को, ठीक है? So the objective is so that you get friendly with the syntax. All right, everyone. So let's first see how to install .NET. So what you'll do, download Visual Studio 2022. Okay, just go ahead and say download Visual Studio 2022. So here you can see the download option is available. Go ahead and download it and install it. It is a big software, so it will take time. Okay, so please have patience. Don't stop it in between. So first of all, it will download the installer. You double click on the installer, then it will start extracting the libraries from the internet. So throughout the installation process, you will require the internet connection. I hope I'm clear, everybody. It is actually a very simple process. Go ahead and say download Visual Studio 2022. It will download the installer, double click on the installer, then it will start fetching the files from the internet. So please be connected over the internet. Okay? Once it is done, then we are good to go. So here I have installed Visual Studio 2022. Now we have to create a project. So you can see multiple options are there. So I will go for this option. Can you see this, everyone? Is it visible on your system? Create a new project option is there. Okay, so please select this option. Now there are different again options available. We will be going off with the first option. It is very small written there, console application. Can you read it? दिख रहा है आपको? पहला वाला console application. Okay, and that too the first language is C#. So just select this one and then click on next. Now here you can give a name to your application. So let me write here as programming basics. So it is providing with one small file here. I will delete it and I'll start from the scratch. Okay, all of you understood, right? When you create a project, it will open up a window. One file was there. Here it was visible. I just deleted it. Okay, I am starting from the scratch. ये आपको दिख रहा है हमने जो project बनाया था programming basics नाम से. Right click over here and then click on add new item. Here you have to give the name of the file. So my program, let's say that is the name of the file I want to give. It has the extension as .cs. CS stands for C#. You might see that some of the code has already been generated here. Actually, we don't need these lines. Only we require the first one, that is using system, namespace, internal. Now, please do not bother about these things because I'm going to teach you all these things. ये सब मैं आपको सिखाऊंगी धीरे धीरे. So उसके बारे में ज़्यादा टेंशन नहीं लेना है. Understood everyone? So how to install and how to create the first project? Have you understood? If yes, can you please type C for clear? Okay, now let's get started. Now a few points that you need to remember, especially for the students who are from Python background. So here there will be some changes. 1 minute. Let me have ms.net. ये आज का है ना, इसके अंदर मैं बनाती हूँ concept 1. So first point that you need to remember is C# is case sensitive. Every statement terminates with semicolon. So Java people, they already know this, that every statement will terminate with semicolon. But here it will for Python, the statements will terminate with semicolon. For blocks, we use a pair of curly braces. Like in Python, we use indentation, but here we have curly braces for the blocks. That much as of now you can remember. Okay. Now, if you want to display some output to the user, then we are using an inbuilt function that is called as console, where so there is one more thing that we need to remember in ms.net. There are some naming conventions. Now, what is naming convention? Naming convention is, we can say, a style that is usually followed whenever we have to name a method or a class or an object or a variable. Now, this naming convention is little bit different from Java. In Java, usually we are using the camel casing, correct? Camel casing क्या होता है? For example, I want to have get ID of. So here we have three words, right? So first word small, second alphabet capital, capital, like this. But in Python, in .NET, we are using it like this. Every word will start with capital letter whenever we are using a method. Understood? Everybody? So when I say it is a convention, so convention is something that we need to follow. But if you don't follow, मतलब अगर आपने ऐसा लिखा, this won't raise an error. It is not an error. ये भी चलेगा. It will execute because this is not a part of syntax. But this is something that will create confusion later on. When someone else will try to view the code, they will understand you are not following the standard, and that will again create some problem. So better we should follow some standards. Okay. So please remember that whenever we are using the method names, so for method names, what is the convention we follow? If the method name comprises of 2 or 3 words like get document data, Like this, you will be writing the name. So every method word will start with a capital letter. That is for the method. Class name will always start with capital. For example, time class. So it will always start with capital. Variable or object names will always be in small letters. This much everybody is okay? Everybody is able to understand till this point? Okay. So eventually when we are writing the code on a daily basis, by practice you will get it. Okay. Fine. Now, if you want to display message, then we are using a method that is console. So console is a class, we can say, which is used to give input or output. Okay. So console dot write line. And here, whatever message I am writing. So hello everyone. Suppose this is the message I want to write, terminate it with a semicolon. So when you write this, it will display the message hello everyone. So let me get started. Now we have some better options available. You can just write CW and press a tab. Sorry. So just type CW and tab, it will generate it. Okay. Hello everyone. Oh, sorry. I missed out on one more point. Java people are aware that whenever you are writing the program, you have to create the main method. But in Python, we don't generally write the main method. But again, in C#, you have to write the main method. So public static void main. So as I told you, main is a method over here. Since it is a method, you may observe that I have used a capital letter over here. Okay. Now, what is this void? What is this static? What is this public? I will be teaching you. ये धीरे धीरे आपको मैं discuss करूँगी, ठीक है? अभी के लिए I just wanted to get started to show a hello world. So please have patience. Each and everything will be cleared, ठीक है? So this is how you are going to have your first program. Now, once you are done with writing the code, what you will do is go to the build option. Then there is go to the debug option. Directly you can go for control F5. It will build and execute as well. Both the first stage and second stage it will perform and it will show us the output. Got it, everyone? Now if I write one more line here, let's get started. So now I have two different lines. So if I execute this, can you see this? That the output is coming in two separate lines. Why it is giving us the output in separate lines? Because we wrote console.write line. If I don't write this write line, I just use the write method here and I execute it. Can you understand the difference here? The output will be in one line only. Okay. So that is up to us as per our requirement. So generally we are using write line. So I'll continue with this. Okay. So this much, I think everyone is okay first. Huh? Now, as we know that today we are learning some program, right? I have some thoughts in my mind, but after a few days, I may forget why I wrote this program. I may forget. So we might use comments. So comments, if you want to use single line, simple print statements. This is a single line comment. But if you want to have a longer description, then this is a multi-line comment. Okay. So we can have a single line comment by using 2 times double slash, or we might be using this syntax slash asterisk asterisk slash for multi-line comment. Understood, everyone? This part is clear? Okay. Now we will go ahead and get started with writing some of the basic programs. So I will just take it as main 1 because I don't want to use it further. I'll be creating a new method now within the same class. So now let's go ahead and create a program to find the sum of two numbers. So as I said, this is basically to make you aware of the syntax. Sum of two numbers. So how do you calculate the sum of two numbers? You need two numbers, right? So those two numbers are like suppose x and y. Now Java people are knowing that whenever you want to create a variable, you have to mention the data type. But in Python, we don't mention the data type. But in C#, we have to mention the data type. Okay. So we will be writing here int x comma y. That is how you create the variables. Understood, everyone? I have created two variables x and y over here. And let's say for the summation, I want to use z, suppose. समझ में आ रहा है सबको? Especially the Python students are okay with it. We will be using int keyword to create an integer. Okay. Now what we have to do now, we have to accept the input from the user. So here first I will give the message, enter two numbers. That is my message. X is equal to console dot read line. जैसे write line हमने यूज किया था किस लिए? For displaying the message. We are using read line for accepting the input from the user. Now both read line and write line, both these methods that are console dot write line, console dot read line, ये दोनों ही हम किस लिए यूज कर रहे हैं? यूजर से इंटरेक्ट करने के लिए. Means on the console we are accepting the input or showing the output to the user. Both these are working on the string data type. ठीक है, दोनों किस पे काम करते हैं? स्ट्रिंग डेटा टाइप पे काम करते हैं. ये भी स्ट्रिंग पे काम करेगा, ये भी स्ट्रिंग पे. So when you accept the input from the user, it is coming in which format? It is in the string format. But the variable that we are using is integer x. So when you accept the input and you try to store it in x, it is not accepting it. I hope you all can see this red line coming up. If you bring your mouse, you can read it also. कुछ तो बोल रहा है वो. Cannot implicitly convert string to integer. Got it? The problem is clear, everybody? हमने लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में डेटा टाइप क्या लिया है? इंटीजर. बट ऑन द राइट हैंड साइड वी हैव द डेटा टाइप दैट इज अ string. So that is a mismatch. So what needs to be done? We need to convert the string into integer. So how do we do that? So for that we have a method available, that is convert dot to int. You can see so many options are available. So here we are using int 32. So whatever input we are going to have, typecast, very good. So we have to do the typecasting. We have to convert the string to an integer. So the best option we have is this part. Everybody has understood? Now we will have the next one. So let's have the next one, that is y. We got the input from the user. So now we can do a summation of x plus y. And now console dot write line. See, if I go ahead and directly write z, so I will directly get the output. I hope you all would agree with me. Let's execute this program now. So first number is 12 and 45. So we got the answer as 57. That is fine. But now I don't want this type of output. I want to say sum is equal to 57. Some user friendly output I want. So in that case, I want to have a combination. So what you can do is sum is equal to. Now in Python, we were using a comma here, but here we need to use a plus for the concatenation. So now let's execute this. So the interesting part is, even though this Z was of type integer, C# compiler is still converting it into string for doing the concatenation. So we don't have to bother about it much. Let me have one more output here. So X plus Y is equal to Z. Suppose this is what I'm writing. So if I execute this, understood everybody? Are you all able to understand the syntax? You all know these programs, right? Addition of two numbers is not a big deal for you all. But the point is we need to be, friendly with the syntaxes. So got it everyone? This first program is clear. How to accept input, how to do the conversion and everything. Now let's do one more program where we will deal with maybe double data type or float data type. Okay. So let me just say this is 2. So let's use double price. So I want to have some price of the product, and based on a particular what do you say, discount, we want to calculate the price. So console dot write enter price of product. So price is equal to, this time you will be writing convert. ये जब हम डॉट लिखते हैं और ये ऐसा आ जाता है ना, इसको इंटेलिसेंस कहते हैं. ठीक है, दिस इज टर्म्ड एज इंटेलिसेंस. सो 2 double console dot read line. So we are accepting the input from the user, that is now we are using convert dot to double. अभी ये समझ में आया ना, जैसा डेटा टाइप रहेगा तुमको बहुत ज्यादा एफर्ट भी नहीं डालना है. कन्वर्ट, सॉरी 1 मिनट, डॉट. वो देखो इतने सारे ऑप्शंस हैं, तो तुमको क्या लेना है वो तुम सेलेक्ट कर सकते हो. अंडरस्टूड? वो देखो ये कितना स्मार्ट. अगला लाइन उसने खुद ही दे दिया, मुझे वो करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So we accept the price from the user. Now based on the price, we have to calculate the discount. So discount, okay, sorry, we have to take it from the user. वो ऑटोमेटिक दिया, हाँ उसने खुद ही ले लिया. अभी वो हम यूजर से डिस्काउंट भी ले रहे हैं, कितना हो गया. अब टोटल प्राइस निकालना है. टोटल प्राइस कैसे निकालेंगे? सो प्राइस इज इक्वल टू प्राइस माइनस price multiplied by discount divided by 100. Okay, so let me execute this. So let's say the price of the product is maybe 1200 and the discount is 34. अरे कुछ तो गड़बड़ हुआ. Wait a minute. enter the price of the product plus, कहाँ plus? नहीं, वो इसके लिए 1 मिनट, 1 मिनट, एट अ टाइम एक ही इनपुट लेता है। हाँ, तो प्राइस यहाँ पर डिस्काउंट के लिए अलग से मुझे मैसेज देना चाहिए था। वी एक्सेप्ट द डिस्काउंट, प्राइस इज इक्वल टू प्राइस माइनस प्राइस इनटू डिस्काउंट, लाइन नंबर 38। ओहो, ये पाइथन का आदत पड़ गया है, सो प्लीज बेयर विथ मी, such mistakes I will keep doing, so you have to be alert. Yes, understood everyone? So I think now you will be able to do all the basic programs, एकदम basic programs अभी आप कर सकते हो. Now let me go ahead with the syntax of if else. Okay. So let's say we want to calculate, or we just have to compare the two numbers, which one is bigger, kind of. So if use a pair of brackets, x is greater than y, then you have to use a pair of curly braces here to do the comparison. So we can say x is greater than ठीक है। जावा में भी आप सेम टू सेम ऐसे ही लिखते हो, पाइथन वालों को ही थोड़ा सा अलग सिंटैक्स समझ में आ रहा होगा। सो वी हैव टू यूज द इफ, okay, and we have to use a pair of curly braces, that is to indicate the block. So now let me execute this. So this is if else. Suppose I want to go for nested if else. So main 3, main 4. So here we will have enter 3 numbers. So first we are comparing x with y. If x is bigger, then we will further compare x with z. So that is how we will conclude that z is the biggest. Sorry, x is the biggest. Else, that means y is bigger. If y is bigger, then we will compare y. Sorry, इसका भी else आएगा. Who is the student from the data science batch? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Can you please pop up the answer on the screen? One of you is from data science batch, na? Ma'am, she joined as BA. Huh. So she won't be taking up this training? Is she there in the meeting? I had sent her invitation as well. Any idea, people? She's not there here. Okay. Thank you. Sai, you are there in the meeting, right? Sai. Hello, Sai. Can you please unmute? Okay. Okay, I will just cross check. I hope everyone is okay with this program, finding out the biggest number. So out of 3. Logic you people know, right? So I'm just going for the syntax so that you will learn to know how to write the program in .NET. That is the overall objective. So for everything, I'll just do one program so that you become familiar with the syntax. I have prepared the assignment also. So you all do the assignment. Okay. And I want you all to do the assignment by today itself. Okay? Everybody will complete the assignment today itself. I'll be sharing it on the WhatsApp group. We have created a WhatsApp group for this overall communication. And I will be sharing you the Google Drive form on which you have to submit the assignment. Or maybe I'll share my email address. So create the zip file and send it to me on the email address. Understood, everyone? But today you have to do it positively. Don't push anything for tomorrow. Okay, because tomorrow we are going to start with OOP. That is one of the most important topic. Okay, so after OOP again a big set of assignment will be there for you to work on. So just get friendly with the overall syntax by today itself, so tomorrow it will be more easier for you to understand everything. Okay. Yes. So now this is main 5. So this was about the if else statement. Now let's see how to write the for loop. So let's say I just want to write a simple for loop. So now the syntax of for loop is a little bit different here. How you write the for loop? When you write for, simple bracket. So first is initialization, semicolon, final condition, increment slash decrement. And then we have a set of statements here. Okay, so what is the meaning here? See, suppose I want to print from 1 to 10. That is my requirement. So my starting condition is 1. I want to stop at 10. Then the question is, how do I reach from 1 to 10? I will just say plus 1. So initialization means from where you want to start. So I will say I want to start with I is equal to 1. That is my starting condition. Then how do I stop? When do I stop? I will stop when I is equal to 10. How do I reach from 1 to 10? I will say I plus plus. Now this is again a new operator for the people from Python background. I plus plus. It is equivalent to I is equal to I plus 1. I is equal to I plus 1 को हम I plus plus ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं. ठीक है? This is known as unary operator. Okay, or you may have I minus minus. That is for I is equal to I minus 1. Okay. So we are simply writing here I plus plus. Okay. Now, when you talk about the condition here, you have to mention something which should be true. ये यहाँ पे हमें क्या लिखना है? We have to write something which must be true. So I am writing here I less than equal to 10. So let's see how this works. See, first of all, what is the value of I? I value is 1. When you put 1 over here, can I say I is less than 10? Yes, it is. So go ahead and perform this operation. Let's say I want to print it. So I'll get the output as 1. मतलब इसका जो सीक्वेंस रहता है ना वो कैसा रहता है, फर्स्ट दिस वन इज एग्जीक्यूटेड, then it performs this one, and then it performs the third one. After that it goes for the fourth one. So 1 2 3 4. Then in the next iteration it will not go for 1 is initialization, it is done, तो बार बार initialize नहीं करना है, अब सीधे वो final condition को check करेगा. So when you do plus plus it has become 2, so 2 is less than 10, yes, so then onwards it is like this 2 3 4 2 3 4. आ रहा है क्या समझ में? फिर से सुनो, I की वैल्यू क्या है अभी, वैल्यू ऑफ I is 1, 1 is less than 10, yes, ट्रू है, प्रिंट करो, तो प्रिंट किया तो आउटपुट 1 आएगा. देन I plus plus, so I has become 2 now, 2 is less than 10, yes, print, so 2 is printed, plus plus 3 4 5 6, so it will continue up to 10. 10 में देखो 10, 10 is equal to 10, yes, condition is true, so 10 is printed. 10 plus plus is becoming 11. This is where the condition becomes false and it stops. Understood everyone? For loop is clear? So every time we have to increment the value. You just have to write plus plus. So it will automatically increment the value. ठीक है, ये याद रखो, पहली initialization happens only 1, then 2 3 4 2 3 4 2 3 4, it will go in that cycle till that condition becomes false. Okay. So here, so now we can initialize the variable anywhere. So I may go ahead and write here as well. Integer I is less than equal to 10. I plus plus. Oh, sorry. I is equal to 1. भूल गई थी मैं. So you can see the output, everybody. What if I want to get the factorial of a number? So we might have an integer num. रीड लाइन में मैंने मैसेज दिया वो सही नहीं है एक्चुअली. Now we have to calculate the factorial. So factorial logic, I believe you all know. So we start off with 1 and we have to just continuously multiply. So f is equal to f multiplied by I. अच्छा, कुछ गड़बड़ किया क्या मैंने? Thanks. I told you, right? I will keep on making this mistake. You have to continuously remind me. So 120 is the factorial. I hope everybody is comfortable with the syntax. Comfortable तो नहीं, पर समझ में तो आ रहा है. Comfortable तो आप तब होगे जब आप खुद practice करके देखोगे, है ना? So this much everybody is able to understand. Okay. Now we will go ahead and see how to use the while loop, do while loop, and switch case. Okay. Do while and switch case is not available in Python. So we'll see how we use it. तो ये हो जाएगा 7. So I'll do the factorial program only, but we will be using the while loop. So here we use while num is greater than equal to 1. We can give this condition, and now I will have to say num minus minus. समझ में आ रहा है? फैक्टोरियल का लॉजिक तो पता है आपको. So whatever be the number, we continuously multiply it with f, right? और num को minus minus करते जाएंगे, है ना? So we'll get the factorial here, and we will be displaying the factorial. Understood? So I get still the result, but now we are using the while loop. So this is the while loop syntax. Now there is one more concept here, that is a do while loop. So what happens, please understand this point. Whenever we are using the while loop, so this is the while loop, we give the condition here. Okay, so some code I have written, assume. So what happens in while loop? It will check the condition. If the condition is true, then only this block is executed. If the condition is false, then it will not execute this block. It is as simple as that. But then we have another option to use the do while loop. So we can use a while here and give a condition with a semicolon. So the point here is, the difference is that when we are using the do loop, it says don't check the condition. First you execute the block, then you check the condition. If the condition is false, then you may stop. So difference between while loop and do while loop is, if the condition is false, while loop is never executed. But in do while, if the condition is false, then also at least once the block will be executed. Did you understand this, everyone? While loop में क्या हो रहा है? पहले ही condition check हो रही है. तो अगर condition false है तो वो अंदर जाएगा ही नहीं. But in case of do while, what is happening? If the condition is false, still it will execute at least once. That block will be executed. After that, the condition will be checked. Okay, so that is the difference. So let me perform the same thing, but we will be using the do while loop in this case. So this, let me make it as number 8. So I will just switch this do while. When we are using while here, put a semicolon. That is the difference in the syntax. Okay. Now let's go ahead with the next one, that is switch case. And as you know, in Python, we don't have switch case. But in other programming language, C++, Java, everywhere we have switch case. So what is switch case? Like if suppose I ask the user, let's have a menu driven program. So I have a menu for the user. So add number, area, suppose these are the options we have. Enter your choice. These are the options we have, right? If choice is 1, perform this. If choice is 2, perform this. If choice is 3, perform this. So this is if else ladder kind of. So for this type of situation, the best option that we have is a switch case. Okay. So let's see how to implement switch case here. So I will be using a small menu driven program in this case. Now, as in Python, here also you cannot use a variable without initialization. So I just take one variable here and I initialize it to 0. Then see what I'm going to do. I'll be using the do while loop. और आप यहाँ पे या तो इसको छोड़ दो. For example, if I want to use the string data type, then I can directly use string answer. So this is to give the tab add to number. और क्या लेना है? So here we are accepting the choice from the user. So now we will be writing here. हाँ, switch case का एक बार मैं syntax समझा देती हूँ आपको. See, normally what we are writing, if choice equal to 1, perform this operation. Else if choice equal to 2, then perform this operation. Else if choice equal to 3, perform this operation, and so on. We are doing it, right? So when you want to convert it into switch case, so when we are writing here choice, so that part will be the switch part. Switch. Here we have to write choice. And here in the bracket, we will be writing case. What you are writing here, 1. So here it will be case 1. Whatever be the statements. Then finally you have to write a break here. So break means the switch ends over here. And case 2 and so on. आ रहा है समझ में syntax आपको? मनोज and everyone, संजू, are you getting this? ये समझ में आ रहा है ना? ये चॉइस है ना, यहाँ पे जो बार बार लिख रहे हैं हम, वो चीज स्विच में लिखना है. स्विच के साथ चॉइस को किससे कंपेयर कर रहे हैं हम? 1. देन वी विल बी राइटिंग केस 2, ये जो वैल्यू है, केस 3, ऐसा लिखेंगे हम. और ये जो डेटा है एंड करना है ब्रेक के साथ. सो कंपल्सरी यू हैव टू राइट ब्रेक हियर. दैट मीन्स वंस यू फिनिश विथ केस 1 यू शुड फॉल ऑफ द रूट. ये ब्लॉक से आपको बाहर निकलना चाहिए. अंडरस्टूड? So let's do this. Now the logic part I'm not writing here. You may just put a bracket and write whatever logic you are writing. As of now I'm just putting the statements here. ठीक है, जो हमने यहाँ पर लिखा है वही मैं यहाँ पे डालते जा रही हूँ. उसको कट करेंगे हम. So this is case 1. This is case 2. Okay, now we have this. Switch का bracket है ना, closing. Now see this. I wrote a do over here. So now we have to use a while loop. So while. Here I am writing answer equal to y. जब तक यूजर का आंसर y है, तो उस केस में console.writeLine do you wish to continue. यूजर को पूछेंगे ना, भाई आपको कंटिन्यू करना है क्या. So accept the answer from the user. So console.read line. Now this is a string. So string के लिए हमें कुछ conversion की जरूरत नहीं है. Maybe nullable here. क्यों? Answer yes लिया है. Oh, sorry. Double quotes is needed here. Let me test it. Main 8. Again, for string, it is compulsory that you have to use double quotes. Okay. So again, Python students, please make a note. Double quote is compulsory for string. Okay. So if I give choice as 1, so I got the message because I'm not performing the operation. I just showed the output here. If I say yes, अरे वो small letter का चक्कर है. तो यहाँ पर हमें लिखना चाहिए था or. For or we have to use this operator. Okay, I'll just give you a brief idea about the operators in the tomorrow session. But for or we are using this operator. Answer equal to small y. So because the caps lock may be on or off, right? So accordingly the output may differ.